Bridging Voices, Bilingual Education and Inequality in Colombia. Good afternoon, I'm Jambayam, and welcome to Voices of Education. Today we'll explore one of the biggest challenges facing Colombian education, the unequal access to bilingual opportunities across regions. To help us understand this issue, I'm joined by Mesiel Mejia, a bilingual teacher working in a public rural school in Santander. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Mesiel. Bridging Voices, Bilingual.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's a topic very close to my heart. Oh, thank you for
Let's start with something simple. What exactly is a challenge in education, and what does it mean for you as a bilingual teacher? Let's start with something.
A challenge to me is something that pushes us to grow, but in the process, it reveals our inequalities. In Colombia, bilingualism has become a national goal, but the reality looks very different depending on where you live. While private schools in big cities have access to native English teachers, digital tools, and international exams, public rural schools, like mine, struggle to find even one trained bilingual educator. A challenge to me.
So the challenge is not just linguistic, but also social. So the challenge is not just
Exactly. It's a reflection of inequality. As the Horizon Report 2022 points out, technology and access remain key barriers in achieving educational innovation, and in Colombia, these barriers are magnified by geography and income. Exactly.
Could you describe what this inequality looks like in your daily classroom? Could you describe what this inequality looks like in your daily classroom? Could you describe what this inequality.
Of course, imagine teaching English without internet access, without textbooks, without even enough chalk sometimes. My students are eager to learn, but they often feel disconnected from the world that English represents. They ask me, "Teacher, why should I learn English if I've never met anyone who speaks it?" That question stays with me. It shows that bilingual education can only be meaningful when it connects to students' realities, their culture, their dreams, their communities. Of course, imagine
That's powerful. And how does it connect to the larger educational process? That's powerful.
Well, the lack of equitable bilingual education limits students' chances in national exams, in university admissions, even in employment later on. It's not just about speaking a language, it's about having access to opportunities. When bilingual education is only for a privileged few, it reinforces social divisions instead of reducing them. Well, the lack of equitable
So we could say this challenge directly intersects with the entire educational process, not just language learning. So we could say this challenge.
Yes, according to Oyarchi Cruz et al. 2022, when bilingual education fails to reach remote or under-resourced areas, it affects not only learning outcomes but also students' sense of belonging and self-worth. In my classroom, bilingualism is not just a tool, it's an act of inclusion. When we value our students' native language and teach English as a bridge, not a barrier, we start creating real educational equity. Yes, according to Oya.
How do you see this challenge relating to the Sustainable Development Goals, especially SDG 4 and SDG 10? How do you see this challenge relating?
I think bilingual education sits right at the heart of both. SDG 4, quality education, reminds us that every child deserves inclusive and equitable learning opportunities, regardless of where they live. And SDG 10, reduced inequalities, calls us to close the gap between rural and urban, rich and poor, connected and disconnected. When rural schools are left behind in bilingual programs, we fail both goals. But if we invest in teacher training, digital inclusion, and culturally relevant materials, bilingual education can become a powerful force for equality, not division. I think by
So the language classroom can actually become a space for social transformation. So the language classroom can.
Exactly, every English lesson is also a lesson in justice, empathy, and global citizenship. Exactly, every English lesson.
Before we finish, Maria, if you could deliver one message to policymakers or educators about this issue, what would it be? Before we finish, Maria, if you could deliver.
I'd say bilingual education cannot be a privilege, it must be a right. We need to understand that English is not only a foreign language, It's a global tool that opens doors. But for that to happen, we must also protect and value our local languages, our Spanish, our indigenous tongues. Only then can we truly reach the promise of quality education for all and reduced inequalities. The vision of SDG 4 and SDG 10. I'd say bilingual education.
Thank you, Messiel. Your voice reminds us that the future of education depends not only on technology or policy, but on people like you who teach with conviction and hope. Thank you, Messiel. Your voice reminds us that the future.
Thank you. I believe change begins in every classroom, one word at a time. Thank you. I believe change begins in.
Also, don't forget. So, thank you for calling and thank you for watching us. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.